Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I am going to be giving you my Taurus January 2019 horoscope forecast. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, first thing up is as far as January goes, the Sun will be in Capricorn from the 1st until the 20th. So the 9th house is what is going to be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, there could be a strong concentration of power, focus, and attention on higher education, religion, philosophy, publishing, abstract thinking, in-laws, grandchildren if applicable, and traveling abroad and going outside the box, expanding horizons, and even humor to some degree, because the 9th house is the house of Sagittarius. Now, given this is Capricorn energy, this may be done with a lot of Capricorn, very responsible manner, very orthodox, conventional, very methodical. If you're taking some higher education course, it could be something where you go about it in a very serious manner and have plans on doing this a very regimented and consistent way as well. And this may have been done with a lot of planning, premeditation, as other 9th house matters may be. But at the same time, remember that Capricorn energy can be somewhat pessimistic and negative, so avoid being overly negative about any of these things and having some strong reluctance or apprehension. Also, too, some of this may be done with some kind of there might be some limitations or restrictions involved, whether it might be something of a monetary nature or what have you. So anyway. Next thing up, as far as January goes, the Sun will be in Aquarius from the 20th until the 31st, so the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, there could be a strong concentration of energy, attention, and focus on one's career, public image, reputation, the dominant parent, which is often the father, success, authority figures, perhaps attaining a position of authority, one's stature in life, social status, how you stack up with others, and also notoriety and recognition at this time as well. And given this is Aquarius energy, this may be done with a lot of Aquarius-like consideration, but yet very unorthodox, perhaps maybe unconventional manner. It could be also the focus perhaps on innovation, even in matters connected with improving your stature in life and your social status. This could also, these 10th house matters may be done with a lot of selfless energy, humanitarianism, but yet very erratic and sporadic, not really perhaps as consistent as the Capricorn energy. But anyway, the next thing up is there's going to be a new moon solar eclipse in Capricorn on January 5th. So the 9th house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, keep in mind, first off, people, that for those of you that may not know, a solar eclipse is like a new moon, but it's more powerful and amplified, and the effects may be more sustained, and it might have a longer lasting impact. It could, in some cases, it could be life-altering. Now, one way this may manifest, this could be a new period of consistent publishing, perhaps, that could be career-related. It could be this monumental career change that may take place, start of a new career that may be 9th house related, such as something connected with publishing or advertising, something where you might be teaching at some college or university. It could be something with travel or dealing with foreigners, perhaps anything that could be 9th house related. It could be doing some work at some religious congregation. Some cases, this could be a new Capricorn in-law or a grandchild that might have a very powerful impact on your life. It could be a Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply one that embodies Capricorn characteristics. If it's a grandchild that's just born at this time, of course, it would be a Capricorn Sun and Moon. But at the same time, this could be a grandchild that maybe has been around for some time, but at this point in time has more of a stronger impact on you, more so than previously, and it might figure more significantly in your life scheme, more so than usual. It could be in some cases the start of some orthodox or conventional religion. Perhaps this could be a time where you might also begin just some new philosophical outlook you're very consistent in. And another thing too, it could be meeting a Capricorn connection through foreign travel. It could be a Capricorn sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply one that embodies Capricorn-like characteristics. It could be somebody that might be someone very serious, responsible, very mature, even an older person. Perhaps, and this person might have a very significant impact on your life. Another thing too is that this could be where when you have like solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, this could be a time where one becomes really cognizant of things. It could be that maybe you had some, for Taurus at this time, maybe restrictions in your, such as traveling abroad, might be more self-sabotage than anything, and you might become cognizant at this time that this was more of apprehension and reluctance on your part, as opposed to just not feeling you had the means to be able to do so. And also too, eclipses in general can sometimes indicate the dissipation or departure of people, significant people in your life. In this case for you, Taurus, it could be somebody that might be a Capricorn person, or someone that embodies those characteristics that might leave your life. It could very well be a male, since you're talking, in this case, it's the solar eclipse as opposed to lunar. And it could be somebody that might have been a mentor, an older person, or somebody that might have been inhibiting you in terms of expanding your horizon. So it could be something very monumental as far as that goes. Now, anyway, next thing up, there will be a full moon solar eclipse in Leo on January 21st. So the fourth house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted. Now, again, a lunar eclipse is like a regular full moon, but it's more, it has more of a stronger, a larger, a prodigious, more impact than just a regular full moon. It could be life-altering and more powerful and more sustained in terms of its impact. Now, this could be, given that this is Leo and fourth house energy, this could be some revelation or unveiling about something maybe in your home life. You could be something where maybe you've become somewhat tired, exasperated, full, so to speak, at a Leo person, or one that embodies Leo-like characteristics that's close to home. It could be someone in your family life at this time, and maybe you just finally had enough of it. It could be somebody that was just very domineering, maybe overbearing, egotistical, arrogant, and you just had enough of this person once and for all. And this could be something that maybe you might have known this person for a very long time, and you're ready to close this chapter and move forward at this time. Now, also too, this could also be something, another way this could manifest perhaps, is something dramatic is revealed or unveiled regarding your roots, your ancestry, perhaps, or even a completion or culmination of some generous and extravagant spending that was going toward the latter part or that end period of your life, and you finally maybe reach that completion and you feel more emotionally secure because of this. And also too, this could be a time too, Taurus, where you might feel at the core, where remember I've talked about, as far as eclipses go, this could be a time where one becomes more cognizant of things, and maybe they were oblivious to it to some degree. But you might at this time be seeing yourself at the core as more extroverted and gregarious than you actually are, and you might feel, and this could have a very life-altering effect, because it might be a time where you decide to be more outgoing, more extroverted in terms of maybe going out, meeting people, instead of, if you're a type I mean, like me, I've Taurus rising, as many of you may know, and I've become even somewhat reclusive and very introverted. And and the thing too is this could also, again, you talk about possible departures or dissipations in relationships. This could be a Leo sun, moon, or ascendant, or someone that embodies Leo-like characteristics you might have felt close to home with, a family member, where maybe that relationship is eradicated at this time. And this is where, and that's another way that this could manifest as well. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. Anyway, next thing up. As far as January goes, Mercury will be in Sagittarius from the 1st until the 5th, so the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, well, this could be a time perhaps for very philosophical, voracious, blunt, even tactless conversations with an intimate or sexual partner. It could be where you start speaking with really the veritable truth regarding taxes, insurance, and even matters pertaining to death. Your thoughts on this might be very philosophical. And also you might be talking very candidly about surgery in some cases at this time. And it could be, I mean, something Sagittarius related, such as something with the thighs or some kind of sciatic, or something with the sciatic nerve perhaps. Now, also, as I've talked about previously, that Mercury can also be about siblings. So this could be perhaps where Sagittarius siblings, they could be Sagittarius sun, moon, or ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Sagittarius characteristics might figure prominently, in a crisis or a transformation, perhaps even with some kind of moral or emotional, even monetary support. And you might find yourself too at this time thinking really in talking exuberantly and enthusiastically about 8th house matters such as the astrology, occult, supernatural, investigation matters. Really, that in some cases it might be an inheritance if you are receiving one. So anyway, next thing up. Mercury will be in Capricorn as far as January goes from the 5th until the 24th. So the 9th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now at this time, you might find yourself involved with rather introspective thinking regarding 9th house matters. It could be matters connected with in-laws, with grandchildren, higher education. You might be thinking very disciplined about these matters at the same time, and maybe even somewhat intransigent and inflexible regarding your philosophical outlook and even thoughts connected with religion and other 9th house matters at this time. You might find yourself talking perhaps about Capricorn things with in-laws and grandchildren. It could be matters with business, politics, government, dentistry, even anything that could be Capricorn related. And really at this time too, this could be again, as I've talked about previously, that Mercury can also be about siblings. This could be where Capricorn siblings, it could be Capricorn sun, moon, or ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Capricorn characteristics. They might figure prominently in your philosophical outlook, perhaps in traveling abroad, higher education, perhaps even religious matters at this time as well. And even perhaps with publishing, perhaps. And there may be a lot of premeditative and planned thinking regarding traveling abroad and perhaps expanding your horizons and going outside the box at this time, so to speak. So anyway, well, the next thing up is, as far as January goes, Mercury will be in Aquarius from the 24th until the 31st. So the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now at this time, you might find at this time that your communications, perhaps with the dominant parent, authority figures, people prominent in your career, might be rather sporadic and erratic. You might find that perhaps innovative thinking and ingenious thinking may play a role, a very strong role perhaps, in improving your stature in life and social status at this time. And you might be involved in more unpredictable communications, ones that are very perhaps spontaneous even regarding your public image and reputation. And also really at this time as well, it could be talking about things that are ingenious ideas with people that are prominent in your career, the dominant parent, even older people at this time, and perhaps gaining recognition and perhaps thinking about gaining recognition, notoriety, and exposure for these ideas as well. And again, as I've talked about before, Mercury can also be about siblings. This could be a time where Aquarius siblings, they could be Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Aquarius-like characteristics may figure very strongly and prominently, perhaps in you attaining some kind of success in your life, gaining some kind of exposure or recognition, and even in matters perhaps even with whether it's attaining success or even dealing with older people at this time, and maybe trying to help you attain a greater stature in life and your social status improving. So anyway, well, the next thing up is Venus will be in Scorpio as far as January goes, from the 1st until the 7th. So the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, you might find yourself perhaps valuing going beyond subterfuge and superficiality. Perhaps with someone you're in a relationship with. It could be a significant other, a grandmother, just others in general. This could also be about perhaps if you're unattached at this time, Taurus, and maybe a deep, provocative, non-superficial relationship you may be looking at, and something that could lead perhaps to somebody, a marriage partner. Now also, you might find yourself enjoying Scorpio-like games with a marriage partner, significant other. It could be a grandmother even, others in general. It could be doing something like playing with a Ouija board, or playing, doing something astrological, playing a mystery game like a Sherlock Holmes game, something maybe enjoying a horror movie, anything that could be Scorpio related. And you might at this time be spending money rather secretively or surreptitiously, perhaps on legal matters at this time. And you may find yourself at this time as well perhaps valuing resourcefulness in terms of dealing with open adversaries and legal opponents at this time, possibly. And anyway, well, the next thing up is Venus will be in Sagittarius as far as January goes, from the 7th until the 31st. So the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, you might find that Sagittarius relationships, they could be Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Sagittarius characteristics, might figure very prominently in you making a major change or transformation or crisis. And as far as whether that's good or bad, a lot of course could depend on the aspects. If it's something where, I mean, if it's making a lot of adverse aspects, it may be doing something where they might actually be contributing or exacerbating a crisis. And also they could figure prominently perhaps in some kind of moral or emotional or even monetary support. And whether the emotional support is good or bad, or moral support is good, might affect you positively or negatively, could depend on the aspects. If it's making an adverse aspect to Mars, say, it could just be making you angry. You might be feeling that they're being overly, for example, being overly outspoken, or saying something that is basically that is just making it's adding insult to abject misery, so to speak, such as like you might be seeing it as tough love or something that you really don't really need at the time. But anyway, this could also be about the enjoyment of adventure or exploration, philosophy with an intimate partner or someone you're in a sexual relationship with, and also perhaps spending exuberantly and enthusiastically on making some kind of major change or transformation in your life. And also it could be about this this really strong enthusiasm, enjoying something an eighth house, something eighth house related with a lot of enthusiasm and exuberance, such as something with astrology, the occult, or supernatural. And you may also find yourself spending perhaps some kind, you might have wind up spending at this time perhaps on some kind of, you could say, something Sagittarius related that could be surgical at this time. In some isolated cases, it could be spending money getting some kind of surgery on something with the sciatic nerve or thigh, something that could be Sagittarius related. And also it could be very lucky for an inheritance, considering you're talking about Venus and the lucky sign Sagittarius, and especially if it's making good aspects. A good aspect to Jupiter might help this as well. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. Anyway, well, next thing up is Mars will be in Aries. So the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, Taurus, you might find yourself involved in some kind of acrimonious battle, perhaps in solitude or in seclusion. They might be private battles you might be dealing with. You might find that your energy at this time might be more dissipated and depleted than usual. If you're unattached, or even if you are, it might be some kind of, in some cases, it could be a clandestine sexual affair with an Aries. It could be an Aries sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply one that embodies Aries-like characteristics. Now, also, you might find yourself releasing, could be some very, you might find yourself putting a lot of aggressive and assertive energy into those that are less fortunate than yourself, such as the impoverished, the oppressed, the homeless, and the hungry. And also dealing with, could be acrimonious moments, may be yourself undoing at this time, Taurus. So just be careful. And you might find yourself doing something, putting some kind of energy and vitality into something Aries in private. Could be taking some kind of private karate or boxing lesson, something that is like a combative sport. And also working off energy and anger at this time as well. In private, just in general, you might be dealing with some angry hidden adversaries at this time. And also it might be also manifest perhaps in taking action and initiative. In some isolated cases, it could be like an Aries-like mental illness, such as some kind of intermittent explosive disorder, but that is very remote and isolated. And something like that, like that example, if that's making an adverse aspect to, say, Uranus, and that could be one example, but this is very, isolated, of course. So anyway, next thing up. Well, Jupiter will be in Sagittarius still, so the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, as I've talked about previously, is that Jupiter can be rather paradoxical. It could be very benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. And in this case, it could expand in some cases and enlarge, perhaps over-exuberance, enthusiasm, self-righteous energy even, and over-optimism, perhaps in making some major change or transformation, and even dealing with some kind of, it could be dealing with some crisis. At the same time, this could be very fortuitous, given this is in Sagittarius, for a large inheritance, because Sagittarius generally doesn't do anything in small doses. This could be very fortuitous as well and lucky for maybe perhaps some kind of sports transformation through sports, such as working out vigorously, doing something outdoors. It could be a religious or philosophical transformation that could be very advantageous. And also this could be a very positive time, perhaps from getting really emotional and moral support at this time as well, and even monetary support. And done, in benevolent Sagittarius, it could be a very good period for you, Taurus, and it could be a very good time for you going outside the box so to speak, in making that major change that maybe you feel you need to make in your life. So anyway, at the same time, again, this could also be about maybe, I mean, as I've talked about Jupiter being about expansion as well, that this could also expand, I mean, some issues. This is the, remember, 8th house is the house of surgery, so it could enlarge some issues that might, require some surgery that might be connected against something Sagittarius related, such as something with the thighs, or something with perhaps a sciatic nerve, something that could be Sagittarius related, and especially if this is making an inconjunct to the actual ascendant in your natal chart. So anyway, next thing up, Saturn will be in Capricorn still, so the 9th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, well, you might be dealing with, at this time, Taurus, some restrictions and limitations, perhaps connected with foreign travel. It might be something, maybe even with higher education. Perhaps you might be dealing also in some cases with a debilitated or sickly in-law or grandchild. It could be something Capricorn related, such as something with the knees, the bones, or the joints, and it might be making you feel somewhat despondent and melancholy at this time. But also, too, this could also manifest perhaps in getting more structure and discipline in matters with religion and higher education, and taking responsibility to 9th house matters, whether it might be publishing your religion, higher education, in-laws, grandchildren, something that could be 9th house related. And also, at this time, in some cases, this could be manifest perhaps in some kind of government restriction or some authority restriction that might be preventing you maybe from traveling abroad, or maybe publishing something that you might want to publish. Whether, I mean, and I think it doesn't necessarily have to be in print, because I think publishing can encompass more than that. It could even be, I mean, when you post videos to YouTube, that's still publishing in its own way. Anyway, next thing up, Uranus will be in Aries still, so the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, in some cases, this could manifest perhaps in Aries friendships that might be driving you figuratively crazy. They may be Aries, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Aries-like characteristics. You might find yourself experiencing more disruptions in your sleep, in your private life at this time. There might also be, there might be some Uranus hidden adversaries that might be people pretending to be your friends, but they're not. They might be people that might be in astrology or in astronomy or aerospace innovators, people that are involved with computers or electronics. And also you might be dealing with unpredictable, acrimonious outbursts at this time in your private life, whether it might be from yourself or it might be from people that you know in your private life. It could be an aunt or an uncle even. But also you might be putting a lot of humanitarian energy and very assertive energy perhaps into those that are less fortunate than yourself, such as the homeless, hungry, oppressed, and the impoverished. So anyway, next thing up, Neptune will be in Pisces, will still be in Pisces, so the 11th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, you might be dealing in some cases with some kind of dissipation or dissolving, maybe of friends, of acquaintances at this time. It could also be dealing with more fallacious or fake or phony social networking accounts, people that are trying to friend you, say on Facebook or Twitter, that are fake. It might be dealing with a surfeit and an abundance of these fake profiles. I think I'm getting a lot of them on Twitter now, and I have actually Neptune transiting my 11th house in my chart. In some cases, too, this could be about false prophets that might be trying to sway you or trying to lead you into some kind of aspiration or goal to pursue that might not be for you. So it's very important as well to look at that. And also you might find that your future might be somewhat nebulous at this time as well, Taurus. Well, next thing up, Pluto will be in Capricorn as far as the ninth house, it's still going to be in Capricorn. So the ninth house is what's going to be emphasized and highlighted. Some isolated cases, this could manifest in covert government work. I know you don't want me to say the dreaded D word, but I'm going to anyway. It could be the actual literal death in some cases, sadly, of an in-law or a grandchild. But that's very isolated. You might find yourself obliterating some kind of philosophical outlook at this time, or maybe even you might find yourself perhaps in power struggles with others over some philosophy or people that you know at a religious congregation. And maybe even terrorism or the government might control perhaps traveling abroad for you at this time. And you might be obliterating some kind of philosophical outlook, but at the same time it might be a transformation in connection with that, or transformation of religion. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my Taurus January 2019 horoscope forecast. Stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be talking about coping with negative transits in astrology. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.